The forest was quiet, but it was not the kind of quiet that gave peace. It was the heavy, watchful silence that made every sound louder than it should be. A single human walked slowly between the giant trees. His name was Daniel, and he had been wandering for hours. The alien world was strange to him, full of glowing plants and shadows that moved even when the wind was still. His boots sank in soft moss and his heart beat fast because he knew he was not safe here. Daniel's throat was dry and his lips were cracked. He had been searching for water all day. His supplies were gone and the forest seemed endless. Every step he took, he wondered if something was following him. Once he thought he heard claws scratching on bark. Another time he saw two shining eyes vanish into the darkness. He told himself it was just his mind playing tricks, but deep inside he knew this planet was full of hunters. Hunters who would love nothing more than a lost human as prey. At last, he heard it. The sound of water, a soft stream, hidden among the thick roots. His heart leapt with relief. He pushed through the leaves and followed the sound until he found a small river, glowing faintly under the moonlight. The water was clear, almost silver, and he dropped to his knees at once. He cupped his hands and drank greedily, the cool water running down his throat. For a moment he forgot his fear, then he froze. A splash echoed from the other side of the river. He lifted his head slowly, his body stiff with dread. At first he thought it was an animal drinking, but no, it was something else. His eyes widened and his breath caught in his chest. In the shallow water stood a figure, tall, strong, and unlike any human. Her skin shimmered like polished bronze under the faint starlight. Her hair, long and dark, clung to her shoulders, wet from the river. And she wore no armor, no clothes, only the water covering her form. Daniel's mind went blank. He knew he should turn away. He knew this was wrong, but his legs refused to move. He stared for a heartbeat too long, and that was his mistake. The figure moved sharp as lightning. Her head snapped toward him, her golden eyes locking onto his. They burned with the heat of a warrior's rage. She did not scream. She did not run. Instead, she reached for something on the shore, a blaster, black and heavy, resting against a stone. Before Daniel could move, she had it in her hands, and the cold, deadly barrel was pointed straight at his chest. "Human," she hissed, her voice low but sharp like a blade. "You should not be here." Daniel's throat went dry again. He raised his hands slowly, his voice trembling. I didn't mean to. I was only looking for water." Her eyes narrowed and her grip on the blaster tightened. She stepped out of the river, water dripping down her body. Each step was controlled, silent, deadly, like a predator approaching her prey. Daniel backed away until his shoulders pressed against the rough bark of a tree. "You saw?" she said, her voice like thunder now. "You saw me without armor, without protection. That is a crime in my world." Daniel shook his head desperately. "No, I didn't mean to—" "Silence," she snapped, her voice cutting him like a whip. "There is only one path for a man who has seen what you have seen." He swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling in panic. "Please, I don't understand. What do you mean?" She raised the blaster higher. The tip of it was so close now he could almost feel the heat. "You must marry me," she said slowly, every word heavy as stone. "Or you will die where you stand." Daniel's blood ran cold. He blinked at her, trying to understand. Marry? To her? His heart pounded against his ribs so loud he thought it would burst. He tried to speak, but no words came. Her golden eyes never wavered. She was not joking. She was not bluffing. One wrong move and he would be nothing but ash on the moss. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The river whispered softly as if mocking him. The alien warrior stood like a goddess of war, the blaster steady in her hand. Daniel felt the world close around him. There was no escape, no mercy, and in that moment he realized one thing with chilling clarity. His life, his freedom, his very future, all of it now rested in the hands of the alien warrior who had caught him at the river. Her final words struck like lightning. Choose, human, marriage or death. Daniel stood frozen, his back pressed against the rough bark of the tree. The alien warrior's blaster aimed straight at his heart. Her golden eyes did not blink, did not soften. The silence stretched like a rope tightening around his neck. He could barely breathe, marriage or death. The words echoed in his mind again and again. It made no sense. How could this be happening? Only hours ago, he was a desperate man lost in a strange forest searching for water. Now his life hung by a single choice. His voice cracked when he tried to speak. I don't understand. Why marriage? Why me? The warrior's eyes narrowed. She stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. Because you have seen what no outsider should see. To look upon me without armor, without honor is forbidden. You have broken a law older than the stars. Only one thing can erase the shame, binding me to you. If not, your death will cleanse the dishonor. Her tone was calm, but Daniel heard the iron underneath. She meant every word. He shook his head, fear clawing at his chest. I didn't mean to. I was thirsty. I didn't know anyone was here. She tilted her head, studying him like a hawk studies a rabbit. Intent does not matter. Only what happened. And what happened cannot be undone. Daniel's mouth went dry. He thought of running, but one glance at the blaster told him it would be useless. She could burn him to ash before he took 2 steps. He thought of fighting, but one look at her powerful arms and steady gaze crushed the idea. He was nothing compared to her. The warrior lowered her weapon slightly, but not enough to give him hope. You will come with me to the tribe. They will judge you. If they find you guilty, you will burn. If they accept my claim, you will live as my mate. His stomach twisted. Mate? The word felt heavy, terrifying. He was just one man, lost and broken. How could he stand beside a warrior like her? Daniel whispered. And if I refuse both? Her lips curled into the smallest of smiles, though there was no kindness in it. Then I will end you here and now. Quick and clean. Better than what the tribe will do. The forest around them seemed to grow darker. Daniel's heart pounded, every beat like a drum of doom. He tried to think, tried to imagine some way out, but the walls of fate closed tighter with each passing moment. Please, he said again, his voice trembling. I'm not your enemy. I'm only a traveler, nothing more. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Not mercy, not yet, but something softer. Perhaps curiosity. She tilted her head, her hair dripping with river water, her golden eyes glowing in the pale light. You are human, yes? The kind that came to our world centuries ago. Some call your people weak, others call you cunning. Tell me, are you worth sparing? Daniel swallowed. He had no answer. Suddenly, she moved. Too fast. Her hand shot forward, seizing his wrist with a grip like iron. She yanked him toward the riverbank, dragging him as though he weighed nothing. He stumbled, almost falling into the water, but she held him upright. You will walk, she ordered. If you try to flee, I will burn your legs and drag you anyway. Daniel's chest rose and fell rapidly. The cold bite of fear filled his veins, but so did a strange spark of anger. He hated feeling powerless. He hated that his life was no longer his own. But he had no choice. Not now. The warrior pushed him forward, her blaster never far from his side. They moved deeper into the forest, the night alive with sounds, drums in the distance, deep and slow, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. What is that? Daniel asked quietly, though he feared the answer. The tribe, she said. They gather. They will want to see the man who dares look upon a warrior's shame. His knees almost buckled. They'll kill me. Perhaps, she replied coldly. Then softer. Or perhaps they will bind us. Only the spirits will decide. Daniel stumbled again, his mind racing. Images flashed before his eyes, the alien faces, the fire, the punishment she had promised. He wanted to scream, to wake up from this nightmare, but there was no waking up. The drums grew louder. Shadows flickered through the trees, huge figures moving between the glowing plants carrying torches. The air filled with chanting, a deep rhythmic sound that made the ground tremble beneath his feet. The warrior stopped suddenly and turned to him. For a moment her face was unreadable. Then she leaned close, her breath warm against his ear. If you value your life, say nothing. Let me speak for you. One wrong word and they will tear you apart. Daniel's chest tightened. His life depended not only on her mercy, but also on her protection. She was both executioner and savior. The trees opened into a wide clearing lit by fire. The tribe was waiting. Hundreds of tall, armored warriors, their faces sharp and stern, their eyes glowing in the firelight. The chanting stopped. Silence crashed over the clearing. The alien warrior pushed Daniel forward. All eyes locked on him. This human, she declared loudly, her voice strong and clear, has seen what no outsider may see. He has broken our law. By our code, only 2 paths remain, his death or his binding to me. The crowd erupted, half shouting for blood, half chanting for tradition. Daniel stood in the center of it all, trembling, his heart in his throat. and as the tribe closed in, he realized the impossible truth. His fate would be decided tonight, by their judgment and by the alien warrior who now claimed his life as her own. The clearing burned with firelight. Tall flames licked the night sky, shadows stretching across the alien forest. Daniel stood at the center, his body shaking. The weight of 100 eyes pressed on him, eyes that glowed with fury, suspicion, and hunger. He had never felt so small, so weak. The tribe surrounded him in a circle, their armored bodies shining like steel, their weapons gleaming in the fire. The alien warrior who had dragged him here stood close, her blaster never leaving her hand. Her wet hair clung to her shoulders, her golden eyes sharp as blades. She spoke loudly, her voice carrying above the crowd. This human saw me without my armor. By our law, his fate must be judged, death or the binding. The crowd erupted with a roar. Some shouted for blood, fists pounding against their chests. Others shouted for honor, chanting words Daniel could not understand. Their voices shook the ground beneath his boots. An elder stepped forward. He was taller than the others, his hair silver, his armor carved with ancient symbols. His face was lined with scars and his eyes glowed like embers. He lifted a staff and the crowd fell silent. The elder's voice was deep and heavy. Human, you stand accused of seeing what is forbidden. Our ways demand punishment. For dishonor spreads like fire if left unchecked. But our ways also demand balance. If she claims you as mate, the shame becomes union. The wound becomes bond. Do you accept this law? Daniel's lips trembled. He opened his mouth, but no sound came. How could he accept? How could he refuse? His mind screamed for escape, but there was none. The circle of warriors was too thick, their weapons too sharp. I don't. His voice cracked. The warrior at his side stepped forward, her grip tight on his wrist. He accepts, she declared boldly. Daniel whipped his head toward her, eyes wide. What? He whispered hoarsely. Her golden eyes cut into him like fire. Stay silent, she hissed under her breath. Silence will save you. The elder's eyes narrowed as he studied Daniel. The human's tongue hesitates. His spirit is weak. Why should we let him live? The crowd growled in agreement, voices rising again. Kill him, burn him. End the dishonor. The warrior raised her blaster into the air and fired. A bolt of light shot into the sky with a crack like thunder. The crowd fell silent instantly. She pointed her weapon at the ground and then raised her chin high. He may look weak, she said, her voice sharp as steel. But I claim him. By my right as warrior, I bind him to me. His life belongs to me now. Who dares challenge my claim? The silence stretched for a heartbeat, then two. Daniel felt every eye on him, felt his skin prickle with fear. Then from the far side of the circle, a deep laugh broke the silence. A massive warrior stepped forward, even larger than the others. His armor was blood red, his shoulders wide as a mountain. His eyes glowed bright with hatred, and a scar ran across his jaw like a knife cut. He carried a long spear, its tip glowing faintly in the firelight. I dare, the warrior growled. His voice was like thunder, shaking Daniel's bones. You cannot bind yourself to this creature. He is weak, he is nothing. If he cannot even hold a blade, how can he stand as your mate? The tribe roared in agreement, their chants growing wild. Daniel's stomach dropped. His legs trembled. The elder raised his staff again, his voice booming above the noise. Then let it be decided by trial. The rival has spoken. If the human can stand and fight, he proves his worth. If he falls, his blood ends this dishonor. Daniel's mouth went dry. Fight against that giant? He had no armor, no weapon, no chance. He shook his head quickly, his voice breaking. No, please, I can't. The warrior who had claimed him grabbed his shoulders and turned him to face her. Her eyes blazed with fire. Listen to me. If you refuse, they will burn you alive. If you fight, at least you have a chance. Use your mind, not your strength. Do not give up. Daniel's breath came fast and shallow. His chest ached, his legs felt like stone. But the giant rival was already stepping into the circle, pounding the spear against the ground with a heavy thud. The crowd cheered, their voices like a storm. The elder pointed his staff. The trial begins. A warrior shoved a wooden spear into Daniel's trembling hands. It was rough, heavy, and clumsy. He stared at it, then at the rival across from him. The giant smiled, baring sharp teeth. The crowd began to chant, louder and louder. The firelight blazed. The rival raised his glowing spear high, ready to strike. Daniel's heart thundered in his chest. His mind screamed at him to run, to drop the spear, to beg for mercy. But another voice whispered deep inside him, a voice he hadn't heard in years. If you don't fight, you're already dead. The rival charged, the ground shaking beneath his steps. Daniel raised his wooden spear with shaking hands, his body screaming with fear. The night exploded with the clash of wood and steel. And in that instant, Daniel realized his fate would be written not by words, but by blood. The fire roared higher, casting wild shadows across the clearing. The tribe shouted in unison, stomping their feet against the ground until the earth itself seemed to tremble. Daniel stood in the center, clutching the rough wooden spear in his hands. His palms were slick with sweat, his knees weak. Across from him, the rival warrior towered like a mountain, his blood-red armor glowing in the firelight, his massive spear shining like a blade of lightning. The elder lifted his staff. "Let the trial begin," he thundered. A deep silence fell for only a heartbeat, and then the rival warrior charged. His heavy boots crushed the dirt as he swung the glowing spear down in a deadly arc. Daniel barely leapt aside, the tip slamming into the ground where his chest had been only a second before. The impact sent sparks into the air. Daniel stumbled, gripping his clumsy spear tighter. The crowd roared, some cheering for the rival, others mocking the trembling human. The sound crashed against Daniel's ears, making it hard to think. He wanted to drop the weapon and run, but the circle of warriors trapped him like a cage. The rival warrior grinned, showing sharp teeth. "Pathetic," he growled, lifting his spear again. "You will die quickly," Daniel's heart thundered. He remembered the alien warrior's warning. "Use your mind, not your strength." She was right. He could never match the rival in raw power. He had to be clever. When the rival charged again, Daniel didn't block, he dodged, rolling across the dirt. The crowd laughed at first, thinking he was weak. But the rival's spear slammed into the ground again, leaving a deep crack in the earth. Daniel scrambled to his feet, panting. He realized something. The rival was strong but slow. The rival roared in anger, his pride stung by the human's escape. He lunged again, his spear whistling through the air. Daniel ducked, the weapon passing inches above his head. The force of the swing pulled the rival slightly off balance. Daniel, shaking, jabbed his wooden spear forward. It struck the rival's side with a thud. The blow wasn't strong, but it made the giant stumble. The crowd gasped. Daniel froze, shocked by what he had just done. The rival turned, eyes blazing with fury. "You dare!" he roared. He spun his spear in a deadly circle and charged again. Daniel's lungs burned. His arms ached. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he forced himself to stay. He dodged again, barely avoiding another crushing strike. Dust flew into the air. He coughed, sweat dripping down his face. He was tiring fast. The alien warrior who had claimed him stood at the edge of the circle, watching closely. Her eyes burned with something fierce. Not fear, not anger, but hope. She clenched her fists, silently urging him on. Daniel caught her gaze for only a moment. That single look lit a spark in him. He had to survive. He couldn't let her down. The rival swung again, wide and wild. This time Daniel ducked low, then drove his wooden spear into the rival's knee. The sharp point struck true. The giant roared in pain and staggered, dropping to one leg. The tribe gasped louder this time, their shouts turning to shock. Daniel stepped back, breathing hard, gripping the spear tighter. His chest rose and fell rapidly, but his eyes sharpened. For the first time, he felt something strange. He wasn't just prey anymore. The rival bared his teeth and pushed himself up with a growl. "I will break you, human." He charged again, fury in every step. Daniel waited until the last second, then sidestepped, using the rival's momentum against him. As the giant stumbled past, Daniel thrust the wooden spear with all his strength into the rival's back. The impact sent the rival crashing forward into the dirt, his glowing spear flying from his hands. The crowd fell silent. The rival groaned, struggling to rise. Daniel raised his wooden spear above him, his body shaking from exhaustion but his eyes blazing with desperate courage. He could finish it now. He could prove himself. The elder lifted his staff, his voice booming. "Enough!" The rival froze, still on the ground. Daniel stood panting, his arms trembling, his chest heaving. The circle of warriors erupted in shouts, some praising the human, others calling the fight unfair. The elder's eyes glowed as he studied Daniel. The human has not fallen, he stands. He has used mind over muscle, cunning over strength. By our law, he has proven his worth. The rival pounded his fists against the dirt in rage. No, he is nothing. He cheated. But the elder struck the ground with his staff, silencing him. The trial is done. The alien warrior stepped forward, her face calm but her eyes blazing with pride. She placed her hand firmly on Daniel's shoulder. "He is mine," she declared. The crowd roared, half in approval, half in fury. The rival spat into the dirt, his face twisted with hate. Daniel's chest still heaved, but inside him something shifted. For the first time since this nightmare began, he wasn't only a victim. He had fought, and he had survived. But as he looked at the rival's furious eyes, he felt a cold shiver run down his spine. This wasn't the end. The rival's hatred promised more danger yet to come. And in the firelight, Daniel realized the truth. Winning the duel had saved his life tonight, but it had also bound him even tighter to the alien warrior, and to a future he did not yet understand. The fire burned low, but the heat of the trial still clung to the clearing. The rival warrior was dragged away, his furious roars echoing through the night. The tribe had spoken, the elder had judged, and the human still stood. Daniel's chest heaved, his muscles aching, his mind spinning. He had survived, but survival came with a price. The elder raised his staff once more, his deep voice carrying across the crowd. "The human has fought and lived. By our law, his fate is sealed. He is bound to the warrior who claimed him. Their union will begin tonight." The crowd erupted in chants, voices rising like thunder. Torches lifted high, the circle of warriors closed tighter. Daniel's stomach twisted as the words sank in. Union, marriage, tonight. His hands trembled, his mouth went dry. He turned to the alien warrior at his side. Her golden eyes glowed in the firelight, her face calm and unreadable. She stood tall, her grip still firm on her blaster. She had not let go of him since the duel. Daniel whispered harshly, almost choking on his words. "I didn't agree to this. I'm not ready." Her gaze snapped to him, sharp as a blade. "Silence. If you fight this now, they will kill you. Do you understand?" He swallowed hard, his heart hammering. The crowd's chants grew louder, drums pounding in rhythm, making the earth shake beneath his boots. Warriors began to paint their faces with ash and glowing colors, preparing for the ritual. Daniel felt the air close in, heavy and suffocating. He wanted to run, to scream, to disappear, but there was nowhere to go. The tribe surrounded him like a wall of fire and steel. The elder's staff struck the ground. "Bring the symbols!" he commanded. From the crowd, two younger warriors stepped forward, carrying objects wrapped in cloth. One unwrapped a chain made of glowing metal, its links humming softly like a heartbeat. The other revealed a carved stone bowl filled with silver liquid that shimmered in the firelight. Daniel stared at them, his breath shallow. What is this?" The warrior beside him answered quietly, her voice steady. "The binding. Once the chain is clasped and the liquid shared, there is no turning back. We will be joined by law, by spirit, by blood." His chest tightened. "But I don't want this." She leaned closer, her whisper cutting him like a knife. "Do you want to live?" The question silenced him. He closed his eyes, fighting the panic rising in his throat. He wanted to live. But at what cost? The tribe's chants grew louder, echoing into the dark forest. Warriors banged their weapons against their shields, the sound like rolling thunder. The rival, held back by guards at the edge of the clearing, shouted curses, his voice dripping with rage. "This is not over, human. I will see your blood spilled." Daniel shivered. The hatred in that voice was a promise. The elder stepped forward with the glowing chain. "Kneel," he ordered. Daniel's legs shook as he slowly sank to his knees. The alien warrior knelt beside him, her face calm, her posture proud. The chain was lifted and clasped around their wrists, binding them together. The metal was cold, but it pulsed faintly with warmth as though alive. The elder lifted the bowl of silver liquid. He dipped a carved cup into it and handed it first to the warrior. She drank without hesitation, her eyes never leaving Daniel's. Then the cup was offered to him. Daniel stared at it, his heart racing. The crowd was silent now, waiting. Every eye watched. His hand shook as he took the cup. The liquid shimmered, catching the firelight. He raised it to his lips. The taste was strange, metallic and sweet, burning slightly as it slid down his throat. His chest tightened, and for a moment he thought he might choke. But he swallowed, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The elder raised his staff high. "It is done. By the old law they are bound. The human is no longer outsider, he is mate. He is one of us. The chants roared louder than ever, echoing into the night sky. Warriors lifted their weapons in salute. The drums beat faster, wild and fierce. Daniel felt the chain around his wrist heavy and unbreakable. He looked at the warrior beside him. Her face was unreadable, but her golden eyes softened for just a heartbeat. She leaned close and whispered so only he could hear. "You are mine now. But listen well, I did not choose this any more than you. Together we may yet find freedom. Apart we will both be destroyed." Her words struck deep, a strange mix of warning and hope. Daniel's chest tightened. He realized she wasn't just his captor. She was also trapped by the same law, the same bond. The drums grew wild, the chants fierce. The tribe danced around the fire, celebrating. But Daniel sat in the center, chained to a warrior he barely knew, his future stolen by ancient tradition. And as the rival's hateful eyes burned into him from the shadows, Daniel understood. This forced bond had saved his life tonight, but it had also painted a target on his back. The true danger was only beginning. The celebration lasted late into the night. Drums thundered, flames reached high into the sky, and the tribe danced in wild circles around the fire. Daniel sat in the center, his wrist chained to the alien warrior, the glow of the binding metal still pulsing faintly against his skin. He tried to smile when warriors roared their chants, but inside he felt like a prisoner. His fate was sealed, his freedom gone. The alien warrior beside him, the one who had claimed him, did not join in the dancing. She sat still, her golden eyes scanning the crowd, her face calm but alert. Daniel noticed her hand always rested close to her blaster, as though she expected trouble even in celebration. When the fire finally burned low and the tribe settled to rest, Daniel was led to a tent of animal hides stretched between carved bones. The alien warrior entered with him, the chain between them clinking softly in the quiet. Inside, the air smelled of smoke and strange herbs. "You should sleep," she said, sitting down near the entrance. Daniel sank onto a rough blanket laid across the ground. His body ached from the duel, his arms heavy, his chest sore, but his mind would not rest. "Why?" he asked softly. "Why save me? Why claim me?" She didn't look at him, her eyes fixed on the shadows outside. "Because if I did not, they would have burned you, and the shame would have destroyed me as well. Our law binds us both. You live, so I live." Her words carried no warmth, but Daniel caught something beneath them. Truth. She hadn't chosen him freely. She was as trapped as he was. Exhaustion dragged at him, and soon his eyes closed. Sleep came, but it was restless, filled with fire and angry voices. He woke with a start. The night was silent, too silent. The fire outside had burned down to glowing embers. The tribe slept. Only the sound of insects filled the air. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Soft, careful, moving through the dark. His body tensed. He turned his head and saw movement near the tent wall, a shadow slipping closer. Before he could speak, the flap was ripped open. The rival warrior entered, his red armor glinting faintly in the moonlight, his eyes burning with rage. In his hand gleamed a curved blade. "You stole my honor, human," the rival growled, his voice low and dangerous. "You do not deserve her. Tonight I will end you." Daniel's heart froze. He tried to scramble back, but the chain around his wrist pulled tight, yanking him toward the warrior beside him. She was already on her feet, her blaster in her hand, eyes blazing with fury. "You dare break the sacred rest?" she hissed. The rival sneered. "You think the elder's words protect him? He is weak, he is nothing. When I kill him, the tribe will see the truth." He lunged forward, the blade flashing. The alien warrior blocked him, firing her blaster. The bolt of light seared past his shoulder, striking the wall of the tent. Smoke filled the air. Daniel stumbled, his heart racing. He grabbed a broken piece of wood from the floor, holding it like a weapon even though his hands shook. The rival's blade clashed against the alien warrior's arm guard, sparks flying. The chain between Daniel and her pulled tight, dragging him dangerously close to the fight. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice sharp. But the rival was too strong, his rage giving him power. He shoved her aside and lunged at Daniel, the blade swinging down. Daniel raised the wood, barely blocking the strike. The force knocked him to the ground, the blade inches from his chest. The rival pressed harder, his face twisted with hate. "Die, human!" Daniel screamed, pushing back with all his strength. The alien warrior leapt, tackling the rival from the side. The blade cut into her shoulder and she cried out in pain, but her blaster fired at point-blank range. The bolt slammed into the rival's chest, throwing him across the tent. He crashed into the wall, the blade clattering from his hand. Smoke and silence filled the air. Daniel lay trembling, the wood still clutched in his hands. The alien warrior knelt beside him, blood running down her arm, her face pale but her eyes fierce. "You're hurt," Daniel whispered, his voice breaking. She shook her head, though her breathing was ragged. "Better me than you. You cannot die. If you die, I die too." He looked at her, stunned. She had thrown herself between him and the blade. She had saved him. Again. Outside, voices rose as warriors rushed toward the tent, drawn by the sound of the fight. The rival groaned weakly, but he was alive, his eyes still burning with hate even as guards dragged him away. The elder appeared, his face hard as stone. He saw the alien warrior's wound, the rival's defeat, and Daniel trembling on the floor. His voice thundered through the night. "Enough! This dishonor ends now." The human has survived again, and the warrior has proven her claim. "Any who defy this will answer to me." The tribe murmured, but none dared argue. The rival was taken away, his curses fading into the distance. The guards left, and silence returned to the tent. Daniel turned to the alien warrior, his voice soft but filled with wonder. Why save me like that?" She leaned against the wall, pain flickering in her golden eyes. Her voice was low, almost gentle. "Because whether I like it or not, you are mine, and I will not let them take you." Her words echoed in his chest, heavy and strange. She wasn't just protecting him for herself. Something deeper stirred behind her sharp eyes. Daniel stared at her, his heart pounding. The chain between them gleamed in the faint light, stronger than steel, binding not only their wrists but perhaps something more. And as she closed her eyes from the pain, Daniel realized a truth that chilled him. This was no longer just about survival. It was about loyalty, about trust. And soon it might even be about something neither of them expected. The sun rose slowly over the alien forest, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The tribe gathered once more in the great clearing, their armor gleaming in the light, their voices low with tension. Whispers passed from one warrior to another. The human had survived the duel. He had survived betrayal in the night. And now the tribe waited for the elder's final word. Daniel stood in the center again, his wrist still chained to the alien warrior. She stood tall beside him, though her shoulder was bound with rough cloth where the rival's blade had cut her. The wound had weakened her, but her golden eyes still burned with the fire of a fighter. The elder stepped forward, his staff striking the ground. Twice this human has faced death. Twice he has lived, once by his own cunning, once by his mate's shield. The spirits do not protect the weak without reason, but the tribe demands truth. Is he worthy to remain among us, or shall he be cast out? The warriors growled, voices rising. Some shouted for Daniel's death. Others, fewer but stronger, shouted that he should stay. The circle threatened to break into chaos. The elder raised his staff again, silencing them. There will be one final choice. One trial left, not of blood, but of loyalty. Daniel's chest tightened. His mind raced. Another trial? He didn't know if he had the strength. His body was bruised, his heart heavy, but there was no escape. The elder pointed to the alien warrior beside him. She is wounded. She is your bond. If you carry her across the path of flames, if you protect her as she has protected you, then the spirits will accept you. Fail, and both of you will die. The crowd roared, stamping their feet. Warriors lifted their torches, creating a long pathway of fire through the clearing. Flames leapt high, heat rolling like a storm. The path of flames stretched far, longer than any road Daniel had ever walked. He stared at it, his throat dry. Carry her? Through that? His skin would burn. His legs would collapse. But if he refused, they would kill him here and now. The alien warrior turned to him, her face pale but steady. You don't have to, she began softly. Yes, Daniel interrupted, his voice shaking but firm. I do. Her golden eyes widened slightly as if surprised. Then, for the first time, her lips curved into the smallest of smiles. The elder raised his staff. Begin, the tribe shouted, drums booming like thunder. The flames roared, the heat fierce against Daniel's skin. He bent down, sliding his arms under the warrior's legs and back. She was tall, strong, heavier than he expected, but he lifted her with all his strength. The chain between them clinked, glowing faintly in the firelight. Step by step, he entered the path of flames. The heat seared his skin. Smoke filled his lungs. His boots sank into the dirt, hot as coals. The warrior's weight pressed down on him, but he held her tight. The tribe roared louder, chanting, their voices echoing in the fire. The rival, still restrained at the edge of the crowd, shouted curses, his hatred burning brighter than the flames. Daniel's body screamed in pain. Sweat poured down his face, his arms trembling with every step. His mind told him to stop, to drop her, to save himself. But when he looked down, he saw her golden eyes watching him. Not with pride or command, but with something gentler. Trust. "Don't stop," she whispered, her voice weak. "You can do this," he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. One step, then another. His vision blurred from heat and smoke. His legs shook. His breath came in ragged gasps. But still he carried her. Halfway through, his knees buckled. He nearly fell, the flames licking close, heat biting his skin. The warrior tried to push herself up to take some of the weight, but he shook his head fiercely. "No," he gasped. "I won't let you fall." The tribe's chants rose higher, faster, wild with excitement. The elder watched in silence, his eyes glowing like embers. Step by painful step, Daniel reached the end of the path of flames. His boots hit cool ground. He staggered, nearly collapsing. But he held on until he carried her out of the fire completely. Then at last he fell to his knees, gasping for breath, the warrior still in his arms. The crowd erupted in thunderous roars. Some shouted in rage, others in awe. The elder struck his staff against the earth, his voice booming. "The trial is complete. The human has carried his bond through fire. He has proven loyalty, courage, and spirit. By our law, he is no longer outsider. He is one of us." The tribe roared again, louder than ever. The rival spat in fury, struggling against his guards, but no one listened. The decision was final. Daniel lay on the ground, exhausted, his body burned and aching. The alien warrior leaned close, her voice soft but steady. "You carried me when you should have saved yourself." "Why?" He met her golden eyes, his chest still heaving. "Because I couldn't let you fall. Not anymore." For the first time, her fierce warrior's mask cracked. Her hand touched his cheek gently, her voice almost a whisper. "Then perhaps you are more than human. Perhaps you are mine truly." The fire crackled, the chants echoed, and the night sky blazed with stars. Daniel had come as a lost man, a stranger, a victim. But now he stood reborn, tested by duel, by betrayal, by fire itself. He was no longer just a human. He was a warrior's mate, and though danger still lurked in the rival's eyes, Daniel felt something new rise within him. Pride. The story of the human and the alien warrior had only just begun.